It has been 100 years since the Chinese Communist Party was formed. The world has radically changed. Leaders came and went. People have better lifestyles today in China, but there is one thing that almost looks identical: the women of CCP. Back in 1921, no women were present that day on the Shanghai boat, which is where the party was formed. Cut to 2017, Beijing, there are fewer than 10% women overall. Let me give you more numbers. The last layer, which the low middle ranking part delegates, has about 575 of the members. 575 are women among the 1,888 members. This is also the most entry-level position in the CCP. Women are typically put in education, propaganda work and social policies. As you move up the hierarchy, the number drops drastically. In the alternative members of Central Committee, there are just 19 women. The Central Committee has 9 female members and the Politburo has 1. And there is not a single woman in the party's most elite inner circle, which is known as the Standing Committee. Experts say that the issue is at the grassroots level. Most of China's top leaders have served as governors or party secretary of major cities. But there are only a handful of women in those positions to begin with. There are quotas for females in the CCP, but they are rarely met due to a deep-seated preference for men. Another issue is women's retirement age. By the time Chinese women are ready for an elite-level position, many are nearing 55 years, which is when they are supposed to retire. Now for more on this, we are being joined by Lynn O'Donnell from London. She's a former Beijing-based China correspondent for the Australian newspaper. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, for decades, men have dominated politics all over the world, but 100 years is a long time. Why do you think there is still just 10% of women in the CCP overall?
Well, it's really the same as it is everywhere else in the world. It's a boys' club, and the boys don't want to let the girls in. As you gave very articulate figures there, the Chinese ruling Communist Party has 96 million members, but only 10% of the people who have any power are women, and that's at the county level. So, as you said, at the grassroots level, women are much more participatory. But as you go up the pyramid of power, women's participation drops off. So, in the cities, positions of power are held by about 5% of women, and then if you look at provincial level, from where the senior leaders are effectively chosen, there's only 3% of women's representation. Now, the childbearing penalty, if you like, also plays a factor. Women do most of the home care, child raising, and that takes them out of the career path that they would otherwise be on. And then when they come back, they don't have the time left to work their way up through the very difficult party structure because they have to retire at 55. You'll note that the men are not required to retire at 60. Many of the leaders who do go on to run the country do so into their 70s and 80s, but that rarely applies to women. You've got one vice premier at the moment, Sun Chunlan. She is the highest ranking woman in the country, the only one, and she'll have to retire at this party congress. It starts in a week or so. She may be replaced by another woman, whose name is Shun Yiqin, but they're a rarity. They're the rarity that prove the rule, really, that it is a patriarchy and that your clubbability amongst the men who already hold power is the key to whether or not you move up, and women just don't move up.
Absolutely. Now, we can see that there is an existing quota for women in the CCP, yet often the positions are filled with men. Do you expect any changes to come in the upcoming meeting?
No, I don't think it's going to be a priority simply because there's a lot of other things that the Congress is going to have to deal with. The economy is in trouble. This zero COVID policy that they've been pursuing has caused an awful lot of problems. China's looking at GDP growth over the next few years of only 2 or 3%. That's not enough even to absorb school leavers. They need around 7 or 8% growth on an annual basis to absorb people who are leaving school. 2 or 3% is probably the annual cost of cleaning up environmental damage caused by industrialisation. So I think that whether or not they have equal opportunity for women in the ranks is not going to be an issue. You've got to remember that China was a country where women's feet were bound for 1,000 years. It was only with the revolution in 1949 that practice, which was carried out at all levels of society, was finished. You can still meet women in China today who have bound feet. So you've also had a practice that has favoured male children, even under the one-child policy. So there's 35 million more men in China than there are women. So this patriarchal, this favouritism towards men is not going to stop. It's not going to end anytime soon. And I don't see that at the next Party Congress 5 years from now, there'll be any difference.
Right, we will leave it to that. Thank you for speaking with us. That was Lynn O'Donnell joining us from London.